Hi, I'm Dan Cox, and I'm being joined today with one of the fighters that's given me hours of entertainment, beyond a doubt. Someone that I look up to as a person and a hell of a fighter. Uh, American Top Team, Dean Thomas. Dean, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I'm doing very well. Just lucky to be alive and on this side of the dirt and on these side of the bars.
I feel you there, man. It's my pleasure for sure to have you on. How's everything been going? I know you've been in Brazil recently helping with some guys training and everything. How's everything going?
Everything's good. I'm just kind of at a transitionary period of my life now where I'm just trying to continually evolve as a person and as a professional in what I'm doing. I did some things I had a small American Top Team affiliate. I kind of branched away from that and put some other people in place to take care of that so that I can kind of focus on where my heart is, and that's trying to develop some champions within American Top Team. So I'm doing a lot of coaching at the American Top Team headquarters right now.
That's super exciting, and I can tell you, I was just out there with Tecia doing some exclusive stuff with Tecia. Man, what a monster she is. To be in person and watch athletes of this level and this caliber train and compete is an eye-opening experience. I got to tell you, Dim, how much has the training evolved from back when in the late 90s, when you were getting into the game until today, man? It's really evolved, hasn't it?
It has evolved, and the reason why is because it's a lot more scientific now. Because back then, everything that we did was a lot more trial and error. So like we would just try things and hope that it worked, and then everything was a little bit more separated. So like if you wanted good boxing, you had to go to a boxing gym. If you wanted good wrestling, you had to go to like a high school wrestling program or a college program. Or if you wanted jiu-jitsu, there was a jiu-jitsu school that was exclusive for jiu-jitsu. So it was very difficult to put it together. Nowadays, it's a lot more integrated. So, you can go to one place, and I would say this happened maybe about 10 years ago, within like maybe say 10 to 5 years ago, where you could go to one place and get everything. But nowadays it's different because you can go to one person who's good at everything, as opposed to going to one place and getting a kickboxing specialist or so on and so forth. Because so now it's like we're in that generation where guys like myself are schooled in everything and kind of train everybody in everything.
Well, that's exactly it. You got the words from me, because they're learning from all of the mistakes and all of the different changes that you learned to get to that elite level, to become well-rounded. Because let's face it, at that level, you're not, if you have a weakness anywhere, you're in deep trouble. It's going to be exposed.
Yeah, it's a lot more detailed and specific now. Back in the day when I was coming up, it was very easy because I came up trying to do everything. I mean, I think I was one of the first generation guys who came up learning everything and not necessarily one thing. I never wrestled in high school. I didn't put a gi on until the year 2000. So like I came up doing MMA. And when I was fighting doing MMA, I had the luxury of being able to fight a guy who was just a wrestler or just a boxer or just a jiu-jitsu guy. So I had that advantage. Nowadays, everybody is doing everything. They're like I was, 15 years ago. But the difference is now you can kind of separate each art, and it makes it very difficult, but you can separate each art and go, okay, he's a good boxer, but his left hook isn't that good. Or his right hand isn't that good. So we have to be able to, as a coach, you have to be able to separate and dissect the person down to that small of an area, and not just striking, grappling, or wrestling, but very limited and small subjects. So it's like he's a good wrestler, but he may not defend the single leg on his left leg as well as he does the right leg. So like this is where the training has really evolved and become has become a lot more advanced.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, in the sense of, it wasn't Rory McDonald's era that was the first era to become mixed martial artists from the beginning, meaning they weren't a wrestler and then became this and became that. These are athletes that actually chose to get into mixed martial arts, started and was trained in every discipline along the way. Now, you guys started doing that back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the sport has evolved that far. And, to me, it's amazing when being a big boxing fan, and then you watch the progression of what's happened with mixed martial arts. And I have to say, there was a period of time, Dean, where I didn't even watch boxing. It became boring to me. The best were fighting the best. And I was seeing athletes like yourself do things that it just boggled my mind. And as a fan, I mean, I was loving life,
Yeah.
You contributed so much to the game back in the day. You were right at the top level. I mean, you fought all the big name fighters. I mean, you got victories over just a who's who.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing to be able to have the career that I had. I mean, my timing was off, I'd say. I mean, I wish I was. I mean, because when I look at the names on my resume, I mean, these guys were every bit as good as the top guys today. And had that been 10 years down the road, I'd be a top guy essentially. I would have been a top guy. But I mean, what I did was important enough for me, and that was to lay the blueprint and the foundation for the guys for today. And not only just myself. I mean, when you talk about the well-rounded guys from back in the day, it wasn't just me. I think I was a part of that cast. But I mean, these were guys like Pat Miletich, Jeremy Horn, Carlos Newton was phenomenal. So like these guys, like they were bigger names than I was, at that time. But we all did our thing, and it's just been a blessing to still be a part of it. Although I'm on the other side, which is a lot safer, and I'm a lot happier that way. But I'm on the other side. But it's just been a blessing to still be involved and to watch it grow the way it's grown, and for these guys today to be respected. I'm not a hater by no sorts. I mean, I see some guys out there that are like, oh, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, complaining, Dana White, this, that, and the third. I'm saying, listen, you need to get your stuff together. Find a way to sustain some life in the game today. And do it. Don't complain about what you could have did or what you should have did, because it's over now. You missed your opportunity. You know what I mean? So appreciate what you did and pass it on to the young guys.
Yeah. And that's where your role comes into play, because you've got not just experience in the fighting game, but you've got experience outside the cage that's going to help these guys as well. And that's a big thing right there. And that's a role that you've taken on. To train and to teach and to try to, pass on what you've learned and achieved. That's got to make you feel good, when you're able to see the work you put in grow and become success.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. I've been so engulfed into the sport of MMA that we had a group meeting with American Top Team the other day, kind of a staff meeting with not the coaches but the regular staff. And I happened to sit into that, and they were talking about if you need somebody to cover your class, make sure you have somebody qualified. And I'm looking at the class schedule, and I'm like, I could do that class. I could do that class. I could do that class. There wasn't a class on the schedule that I wasn't skilled enough to cover, whether it was a kids class, a women's kickboxing class, a jiu-jitsu class, a boxing class, I could do it all. And not only did I do that, I've also commentated events. I commentated 13 events for Fight Time Promotions in Fort Lauderdale. I've commentated other events. I announced events. So like when it comes to like MMA and being and just knowing the ins and outs, I've promoted events. So like I know pretty much everything when it comes to MMA.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about it, and I have to say, Dean, you are definitely an extremely intelligent guy, because I thought you were. I enjoy when I hear the fighters do the commentating. I used to like Frank Mir back doing WEC stuff, and when you get a fighter in there that's intelligent, that can speak and entertain, it's awesome, because the fans are able to really learn and understand what's going on the mat, and I think it's huge. I think that's super important, having somebody out there. Listen, Rogan, he participates. He's got a black belt, so he gets on there and he's able to speak from that side of the fence. I think that's a huge thing. Is that something? Have you looked into that as a future, Dan, besides training?
Yeah, well, I have, and this is something that, me and, I'm a part of this kind of an unofficial group of guys that just are making this transition or just trying to also look into things further than just being inside the cage and fighting. But like Eve Edwards, Tyron Woodley, like we're always talking about things that we could do afterwards and how we can still have a mark in the game afterwards and commentating and being an analyst. Like Eve Edwards just got the job as an analyst for Fox Sports.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I'm very proud of him of doing. And because he's, he came up the same time I did, he's got the experience that I have. And, he's going to do very well at that. And that's something that I may look into the future as well as just, being an analyst, commentator, whatever it is that somebody needs me to do. I feel like I have the experience. I mean, everything takes practice. And this is one thing that I think MMA guys don't always get, is that it takes the amount of dedication that you had to get where you were as a fighter. You need to take that same energy and that same dedication to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's, I see a lot of MMA guys, they go into commentating and they don't study. They just think they can just get behind the mic and they don't study. And hats off, I spoke to Brian Stan in Brazil, and he told me about how he spends so many hours, like when he knows he's commentating the fight, he spends so many hours watching them fight. So he has some information. And that's important. I think the fighters need to realize that, is that when your fight career is over, that energy that you took to box, wrestle, kickbox, and do what you were doing, you need to take that and put that into something else so that you can be good and skilled at something else.
And you know what, man, God, I cannot agree with you more. Honestly, being on the other side and asking the questions, that's a fact. But for me, it's passion. And when you've got the guys fighting, they don't compete like you didn't compete at that level without it being from every fiber of your being. You had passion for the sport. That's what allowed you the natural gifts and hard work. But I mean, that passion gets you there. And that's exactly it. And when you are an educated man in the sense that no matter what you say, everyone can understand what you mean. That's such a big deal. For me in commentating as a fan, that's why I like the fighters to get in there and commentate. And once they get comfortable with it, it's a game changer, man. Brian Stan is he is an impressive man, not only, doing what he does at Fox with his fighting career, serving his country, right down to helping the Warriors, the Wounded Warriors. I mean, very, very respectable man. I got a lot of respect for Brian Stan. I sure do. One thing I'm curious about, then, is I don't believe at all that the talent level has changed so drastically. Like a lot of people will say, these fighters, like John Jones, there's a phenom in every lifetime, right? I mean, every decade there's a new one. And who's better than who? It's all different, and it's kind of semantics. Now, John Jones has got that reach, and to me, that's the game changer. When he fought Cormier, can you imagine 12.5-inch reach and fighting somebody?
This is a very interesting point you bring up, and I totally agree with that, because you can't look at these guys and say, oh, they're more talented, and I don't believe that at all. I think they play the game better. Yeah. I think because of, they may be a little bit more athletic now because they're drawing from better athletes, because their money is more now, so they can draw from better athletes and attract a bigger audience of guys that come over and do it. But when it comes to talent and skill level, I don't believe that the talent and skill level is any better. And here's the reason why. Like, you can't look at the guys boxing today and say, oh, they're better boxers than they were, back. You can't tell me that these guys are better technicians than a guy like James Toney was. Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous to say that. I mean, those guys, and Tommy Hearns and Hagler, I mean, those to me were some of the best technicians. And with them, if you were to put the fighters of today back then, it'd still be competitive. They wouldn't just eat them up. So, and I feel the same way about MMA, is that, the technical level of the guys today aren't better than it was, 10 years ago. Not as a whole, but they play the game better. The transitions are better and quicker. But like, the jiu-jitsu level is not better. The boxing level is not better. The wrestling's not better. I mean, these guys aren't better wrestlers than a guy like Cael Sanderson and Dave Gable. It's just when you put the transition together as a whole, the sport, they do it better. They might be better athletes, and they just play the rules a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it on the head. Then when you said that, you're drawing different type of athletes, and that's the key. You're getting athletes that instead of going into the NFL, let's say like a Matt Mitrione, even, you're getting guys that are so oversized and yet athletic, like, they're 100 pounds lighter. And that is a difference. And I can speak to that in hockey. I was 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I was a fairly stout fella back when I was playing hockey. Nowadays, you got 6'4", 230, and that's like the average. These guys are 6'2", 6'3". So something has happened along the way where people are bigger than maybe they were before, and you are drawing the athletes from these sports like football, like soccer, like whatever that sport might be, and you've got really good athletes coming in. But gosh, it just kills me when I hear people say that. Well, back in the day.
Yeah. That's very inaccurate. And what you said about John Jones is right. His advantage in that division is his size and his length. Because, and it's funny too, because like in other divisions, it'd be a disadvantage. If you were, that tall and lanky as a 135-pound fighter, you would not do well because the speed is different. Those guys will get up under you a lot quicker. But as a light heavyweight, there's more clinching than there is shooting. In order to clinch against a guy like John Jones, you got to go face to face with him and get past that reach. They don't shoot as fast. So he does have that height, or not necessarily the height, but the length advantage as a light heavyweight. But that advantage isn't the same in other divisions.
And man, I agree with that so much, because until you get in the cage or the ring with someone that's got that kind of reach on you and they know how to use it. Listen, if you don't have head work, footwork, if you're not able to cut angles and be able to get in underneath, like you said, get him to bite on a strike and get underneath there, you've got to be able to close distance extremely fast. It's like this is a question I'd have for you. Johnny Hendricks, huge left hand, right? Now, when he throws that left hand, he puts everything in it. He'll go totally off balance and turn it into a takedown. That is old school. I mean, I've been seeing that for years and years, but yet it seems like it's something that Johnny is, being really known for. And I don't know. I guess I'm a little old school, but.
No, that's, you're right. I mean, that's an old school technique. I mean, I still teach it today as a beginner move, really.
Yeah.
Big right hand, big left hand, step, turn it into a takedown. I mean, it really is, because it's kind of safeguarding you. You're going to throw a big punch. They're either going to cover up or get hit. If they cover up, they're going to take them down. If they get hit, you knock them out. And it works. You know what I'm saying? It works. And like, at the end of the day, it's a basic technique, but it all comes down to this: is the basics never change. The basics are always going to work. The only thing that changes are some of the specific details when you're talking about the upper level stuff. But at the bottom of the basic foundation of fighting, it's going to be the same stuff.
No, I totally agree. And the thing that's changed for me with that is, and that's what I was asking about earlier, was the training and how it's changed, which gives athletes a better chance to not only get in better shape maybe, but not put so much strain on their body, because, back in the day, the rule was you just train harder and harder and harder and harder, and not necessarily, saving your body, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's been a big issue, and now it's even tough nowadays to get guys to follow that model. But I think that has a lot to do with, nervousness of a fighter, and that's, the mentality of a fighter. And they feel like, oh, I got to do more, or I'm not going to be prepared. I got to do more. And one thing I try to teach my athletes and coach them on is say, look, you got to have trust in what you're doing. And, if the idea is for today is to work an hour, just work an hour and trust the work. And you don't have to go, 5-6 hours a day and wear yourself out, because the more you do that, you're just putting miles on your body. And you're going to get old fast. You're not going to have a long career. The human body can't take this amount of abuse.
Yeah.
You got to do what you can do. And before you've done too much, stop. Come back tomorrow, do it again. Stop, come back tomorrow, do it again. Take a day off, come back tomorrow, do it again. And that's the key, is to build and to develop, build and develop good training habits and trust it.
Yeah, and that comes with experience, I think. I think as the fighter matures, they realize, because they start to feel that wear and tear on the body. And, you obviously that is a big issue. And, there's another thing I got to ask you about, Dean, since I got you on. And if you don't want to respond to it, man, I will edit this right out. But I am so much into supporting the fighters, and the up and coming fighters really need the support. They don't have the ability to, just have all that sponsor money and everything. And so this is just something that for me is really important. And with the Reebok deal, regardless of your stance, I'm just curious, as a fighter and someone that's training these up and comers, do you have an opinion on it either way, or is it something you just wouldn't want to touch?
No, I have a big opinion on it, and I think it was a good thing in a sense. I know a lot of fighters are complaining about it; they're going to lose money on it, so on and so forth. But I think it opened up the eyes that there is a flaw in the mentality of fighters, and this is something that I've always said for a long time with fighters, because I used to have a lot of sponsors, and when I would have sponsors, I'd send them a thank you note every time they gave me money, and they'd always tell me, "Man, you're the only guy that ever did this." So what happens is that fighters think that just because they fight, the world cares. And the world doesn't care. Companies don't really care if you fight. As a fighter, what they're paying for is an advertisement on you. And so essentially you're paying for an advertisement, and they want you to represent their company. So if you think a company's going to give you a couple $1,000s to put a small little patch on your shorts, and that's going to turn into dollars for them, you are out of your mind.
That's true.
So the idea is this: you're lucky to have Reebok do that for you, because most companies won't. And what I think fighters need to do is they need to change their mentality and go, you know what? Instead of expecting a company to give me money to put a patch on my shorts for the 15 minutes I'm going to be in the cage, maybe I can do a little bit more for this company, be an ambassador for the company, work for this company, as far as like helping them get their message out to the public so that maybe it can translate into some real money, and then they can still pay me. So they're not relying on wearing their stuff in the fight. I'm working for company XYZ year round.
Yeah.
They're still going to pay me, and I'm still going to get paid by Reebok. So I'm not losing out. So if I worked if I had Venom as a sponsor, I'm calling Venom right now like, hey, listen, Venom, I'll do whatever, don't cut me. You know what I'm saying? I might not be able to wear it in the fight, but I'll take pictures for it. I'll go on a marketing campaign for you, but don't cut me. Fighters need to think this way, as opposed to saying, you know what, man, I can't make any money no more. My sponsors are going to drop me. It's because you haven't been doing anything for them.
Yeah, well,
so fighters need to change the way they think.
See, that is an awesome point, and that's why I was so excited to have you on, Dean, because you're giving a point from a fighter's perspective and someone that's been in this game a long time. And I have to say, from my point of view, I was looking at it this way. They would say it should be like sports, like football, basketball, baseball, etc., and it's professional. Well, those are team sports, and you do need to know what everybody looks like. So in the aspect of putting the fighters in the same outfits or whatever, and they could change to whatever style, I thought maybe that was, it's an individual sport. Let them express themselves individually. So that was something I was just, it was weird to me to put them on the same uniform or with just that little logo. But thinking about it with the way you just said, that if you make up for with your sponsors, if you make up for that time by putting in a little bit of love, a little bit of extra time, communicating, like you said, you'd say thank you. And, it was a shot.
You can't tell me that, company X is going to make, it's worth company X's, $5,000 to put on a little patch on their shorts. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me that. For me, I look at the Reebok deal as free money for these guys. It's free money, because I know for me personally, like if I was in this position, I go, all right, I'm going to take the Reebok money, but any sponsor that I had prior to that can't sponsor me for the UFC fights, we still working 365 days, except for the 1 week that I can't wear your stuff. We still working all them other days. I'm still putting your message out on Twitter. I'm still doing ads for you. I'm still doing this for you. So like, in fact, you're gonna get more bang for your buck now, as opposed to just thinking you're going, like, somebody's gonna see your little patch on my shorts and go, oh, you know what? I want to go eat at Roscoe's Chicken. You know what I'm saying? But all the other 365 4 days of the year, I'll be talking about Roscoe's Chicken. So like, that's how it's just gonna work out. And fighters need to have that mentality.
You know what? If I'll tell you right now, even if they had that mentality, not only would they be able to maintain their sponsors, but they would get more sponsors. They would be exposed. Yeah, because they're putting in that effort, and I can tell you, I mean, honestly, personally, that means so much to me. You know, if we're sponsoring someone, it's a huge thing. You know, I love to just get the love, and because we're trying to help out as much as we can. And that's why I wanted to ask you that, Dean, because I wanted to know, what did you think? You've been around, you know, this game, like you said, a long time in every area, every aspect. I respect the hell out of your opinion. And I got to get to American Top Team. You know, what are the plans for the future? What do you got going that you'd like to discuss about that?
Well, you know, like I said, I just took the job as a coach on American Top Team, and I did that kind of because you know, I worked. They kind of hired me to work on the show Tough 21, and you know, if you've been watching the show, you know, things haven't been going very well for us, not like we expected. And, you know, having to relive that week after week to go, wow, you know, we're not really this bad. So, you know, I was in a position in my life, you know, and I try to practice what I preach. I always tell people, you know, all my students, listen, in life, you got to evolve. So at this point in my life, I said, you know, I'm almost 40 years old. I want to evolve. You know, I've been doing the same thing as far as like teaching in my little school for the longest time. And so what I did was I passed it on to the next guy so he can evolve. I'm moving on and, you know, training the guys at Coconut Creek. I want to see us, American Top Team, as the #1 team in the world, undisputed. And, you know, I'm going to put 100% effort into my athletes and really see that happens. You know, like I said, it kills me week after week to watch the show, watch our guys lose. So, and, you know, I know it's part of the game, but just, you know, I wanted to see our guys do well. And that's just what it is. So like from now on, I'm an American Top. I've always been an American Top Team guy, but I'm a headquarters guy now.
Yeah. Well, you know what's ironic is you were on Tough 3 or Tough 4.
Tough 4, yeah.
Yeah. So now coming from Tough 4 and living in that house, and then going and looking at this house and what these guys are doing, any difference there?
Oh, it was a big difference. These guys had it made, actually. The house was bigger. The house was a lot bigger. The budget for the show was a lot more. And the fact that these guys got to train with each other, they knew everybody that they were with. They got to train with their coaches. Yeah. They got to fight at their gym. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The luxury was a lot more. When we were in the house in Tough 4, with, you know, Matt Serra, Chris Lytle, you know, Pete Spratt. Yeah. You know, we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other, so we kind of had to make things work out for ourselves.
And you know what? It's so funny for me to look at the old Toughs and then the new ones and how they've changed and everything. But when you go back to season 4 and you see, I forget what they called it, but it was basically like bringing fighters that had been out back in and you know, however they were selling it. But I loved it, man, because you got, now Shoney Carter was on that. Am I correct?
Yes, Shoney Carter.
I remember his first day in there doing a little bit of cardio. It was a little hard on him.
Oh yeah, you know, he came in totally out of shape. It was like the first workout, and he's throwing up, and we're looking at him like, "What are you doing? How can you be like you had like we knew a few weeks in advance that we were going on the show." So like as soon as I got the call, hey, you're going on the show, we knew like 2-3 weeks in advance. But even prior to that, you know, the auditions for the show were 2-3 weeks before that. So, you know, by that time you was wishful thinking that you were going to the show. So you started getting in shape. And then when you got the call that you was going to be on, you know, you started getting in shape, started mentally preparing because you know that, you know, I mean, it was very difficult. It was probably one of the more difficult things I've ever done in my life. You know, they take your phone away from you. They take all your outside access, no radio, no books, no nothing, no TV. And so that took a lot of mental preparation to get ready for that. So, we started getting ready for that. And then when Shoney got out there, I mean, he was good guy. I love Shoney to death, but he came in out of shape. He wasn't in shape at all. And he was just, it was awful. Yeah. But what a good guy and a good character he is. And while I say that was one of the more difficult things in my life, I think it was one of the points in my life where I learned the most about myself and what I was capable of. And just being in a house with 15 other guys, secluded, without any outside influences, you really learn about yourself, and you learn what you're made of, and you learn a lot about life and about other people as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see how you couldn't, because you're in there a long time. I mean, and people don't realize you cannot reach the outside world. You are in that house with the fighters. Testosterone brewing, man, people missing their families, all that stuff, and the heat going on. You always got the pranksters. You always got the guys that lose early and got nothing else to do but cause havoc, right?
It's 15 different guys with 15 different personalities and nothing to do but interact with each other, and they do that purposely so that we interact with each other. Yeah. And I mean, you really, and not only that, but we're competing for something. And the most primitive sport in known to man, and that's fighting. We're competing against each other, and we're fighting against each other in the house. So it's very difficult to do. And but like I said, I mean, it was a point in my life where I learned more about myself than probably any other point in my life.
Yeah, I think
really eyes up.
Yeah, I think it benefits the fighters regardless, because of the training, because of the pressure, because of like you said, you're put in a position, you either learn from it, handle it, and deal with it, or you fall apart. I mean, it's too much. So that's one of those things. And one of the reasons I love the show is because you see those guys literally grow before your eyes, and it's that's the reality part of it. That's there for me. Big card coming up. I got to ask you, the big card coming up in Mexico, right? Now we got a couple top teamers there. Oh, by the way, I have to give huge props to Sean Jordan with what looked like a crescent kick to me from a man that's got thighs the size of my waist. I was in shock. I was in shock.
Yeah, Sean Jordan is a special athlete. I mean, he's a very good athlete, and it doesn't surprise us one bit that he was able to pull that off. I mean, he actually uses that kick quite frequently, and it paid off. And unfortunately, it's gonna be very difficult for him to do that again because everybody's gonna know what he's capable of. But it doesn't surprise us. I mean, when he hit him with it, I was like, oh yeah, that's his kick. That's what he does. So when you give him the space to do something, he can do it. He moves very well. He's like you said, he's a very good athlete. So I mean, it was good to see him go back to his home state and perform that way and get the bonus.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we were talking about athletes coming from other sports, and there's one right there. I believe he played fullback, and the guy was bench pressing God knows how much, squatting God knows how much, and he's translated all of that passion for that sport to MMA, and he's at the elite level. You know what? I was, being able to watch, Tecia train. I was just so impressed with the work ethic and the mental strength. I mean, people don't realize what it takes to train and prepare for an event like this. It's coming up, the UFC, and so much on the line. It's and same thing with Dustin, right? He came in there, and man, did he handle his business. No doubt about it. And I'm looking at Tecia, and I'm excited for her as well. She's another person that's very special and very special athlete. There's quality human beings over there at American Top Team. There, no doubt about it. And it's been an honor for me to sit down and talk with you, Dean, because you're one of my favorite fighters, and I could pick your brain for 2 or 3 hours. And I know my production company will be just yelling at me, but man, it's been so much fun to have you on, and I've learned a lot. And hey, is there anybody you want to shout out and say hey to or anything like that?
Well, yeah, well, for sure. Well, first off, I want to give you a shout out, Dan, for allowing me to speak my piece and have me on the show. I always got to do that because you guys have been a big part of the growth of MMA. You've allowed us the opportunity to talk and let the world know what we're made of, really, like who we are inside as people. So I want to give you guys a shout out, and also just you guys can follow me on Twitter at Dean Thomas, or you can hear me on ESPN 1063 in South Florida. On Tuesdays, I'm on Josh Cohen and the Home Team Show. Or if you're not in South Florida, it's the ESPN app at West Palm Beach. So you can check me out there. And a little thing that most people don't know, I do improv comedy with a troupe called Bananas Republic. So if you're ever in West Palm Beach, you can come check out a show.
That's awesome, and I didn't even get to that. See, I just got sidetracked. I had certain bullet points for you, Dean, but I didn't even get to half of them because I would talk to you forever, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been my honor, and I can tell you there's a lot of people, a lot of my friends and fans out there that are really looking forward to this. So, hey, I will get with you again. I'm really curious on how this goes with what you're doing and the training and how it's all working out. And also just the love from American Top Team. I have to say thank you to everybody there. And again, thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dean.
Have a good one.
Beautiful. Dean Thomas, everybody. Beautiful.